lovely people, and welcome to Owen's Mind, a light-hearted trip through the contents of my head and the world in general. It is Wednesday the 22nd of January. My name is Owen, and here is what is on my mind today. So, as usual, I've picked out 5 stories making the headlines what to give my thoughts on. Links will be in the description below, so you can read each article in full and show those original publications some love. So without any further ado, let's get straight into it with story number 1. And story number 1 today comes to us from BBC News. The new China virus, UK to monitor arriving air travellers. Yeah, so the UK is expected to begin monitoring flights arriving from China as part of a series of precautionary measures after the spread of the new coronavirus. Measures are set to be announced later and will apply to flights from Wuhan to London Heathrow. According to government sources, Public Health England will upgrade the risk to the UK population from very low to low. So as of right now, there is no cases in the UK. Chinese authorities have advised people to stop travel in and out of Wuhan, the city at the heart of the outbreak. They've also admitted the country is now at the most critical stage of prevention and control. So far, there have been 440 confirmed cases and 9 people have died. So it appears that it's a respiratory illness. It's very similar in its initial symptoms to the common cold. So it's been very hard to diagnose because it's in the early stages, it just mirrors a cold. So number 1, it's not being diagnosed. Number 2, people are just not going to the doctors because they've got a cold, and by the time they realise it's this, it's already too late, sadly, in a lot of cases. So a handful of cases have been identified abroad, including Japan and the United States. On Tuesday, authorities in China confirmed for the first time that human-to-human transmission of the virus had taken place. So now passengers, when they go into flights into Heathrow, will hear an announcement, be given a leaflet to encourage them to report if they are ill. The aircraft will land in an isolated area of Heathrow's Terminal 4 that better lends itself to any health contingencies. There are currently 3 direct flights a week from Wuhan to London Heathrow. So the UK's measures do not appear to include medical screening of passengers at the airport for signs of the virus, as the UK did following the 2014 Ebola outbreak. The screening involved taking people's temperatures to check if they had a fever, etc., etc., etc. They're worried now that this virus could mutate. So mutation, I don't know where it goes from human to human. I suppose the biggest danger is if it mutated and became airborne. Because right now it's gone from animal to human, now it's human to human. And the concern is if it so now you still need contact with another person for it to transmit. I suppose the worry, they haven't said, they're just concerned it would mutate, but my thought would be that if it mutated to a point where it could become airborne, I don't even know if that's possible, I'm not a virologist, then you've got big problems. So obviously, horrible story. It says at the minute there is no vaccine that can protect people against it, but research is looking to develop one. Other coronaviruses are SARS and MERS, and they came from civet cats and camels respectively. So SARS I remember as severe acute respiratory syndrome. MERS I don't know what that is. But I remember the SARS outbreak, because there was lots of pictures all over the news of Chinese residents with the face masks on. And they were told anybody who had it, if people in a building got it, they just closed the building and just said, right, you don't leave, you stay there until it's dealt with. It's one of them scary things now. We've seen movies like Outbreak and this kind of thing, which of course sensationalizes it, but this is real life and people are getting sick and people are dying. Because these new strains of virus, now it doesn't say if... In recent time, we've heard a lot about viruses mutating because we overtreat them with antibiotics. We use too many antibiotics and these viruses are getting smart to it, particularly the flu virus. And they are mutating to find a way around it. So it hasn't said if this is like something we've had previous and basically because we've over-medicated it, it's now found a way to get around it. It doesn't say it's like that, it just says it's a new strain. So like I say, the UK risk has now gone from very low to low. So there's still at the minute no need to panic. They can still monitor people coming in from that particular province, that particular area of China. I suppose if it spreads to other areas of China or the world, we'll also monitor flights coming in from them. And so we can kind of stop it at the source if we can. As soon as it hits the UK shores, if it does, we can deal with it then and there. But yeah, it's one of those. The thing is, now we're in such a connected world. You know, back in the days of, you know, Phileas Fogg and 80 days around the world, it's now you can get anywhere in the world within hours. And we do, for business, for pleasure, we travel all over, and because of that, things like this can move in a way they never could previously historically. So we'll wait and see what happens. Hopefully they will nip this in the bud and get it under control, and hopefully they'll find some way to kind of vaccinate people so we don't get more sick and more dead. It says 440 people have contracted it and 9 have died. So if that's a percentage thing in regards, you know, if the mortality rate is low, it's possible, and it doesn't say if the 9 were particularly elderly or already sick or weak or anything like that. You know, because flu kills thousands of people a year, but you never hear about it really. Just common flu. You know, it's particularly destructive to people who are old and infirm. So this may be that. You know, and there's a chance that there's no medication for it, but the majority of people will get better from it, will recover. So I hope that's the case. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on it going forward. So that's it. Let's move on to story number 2. Story number 2 comes to us from CNBC. We cozy up like little sardines, meet the youth delegates camping out in sub-zero temperatures in Davos. So this is, yeah, young climate delegates from around the world are taking part in a collaborative protest against the rich and powerful by camping in sub-zero temperatures at the World Economic Forum. So World Economic Forum happens every January. It's criticised often for being out of touch with the real world, because there'll be 3,000 participants, and it's about, you know, climate change and all this kind of stuff. But most people get there flying in private jets, and, you know, they'll stay in very nice hotels and this kind of thing. So these young people are saying, you know what, we're going to have a peaceful protest. And they are camping out in this this base camp that's set up there. So yeah, many policymakers and business leaders are expected to travel in and out of Davos via private jets this year. Others decided to camp at the Swiss Alpine town. We are trying to show them that we're doing the right thing, despite the fact that we are not sleeping or staying in the best conditions. We're not enjoying their first-class flights, and they should know that there are people out there actually living in worse conditions. So 6 global youth climate delegates have chosen to stay at the Arctic base camp in Davos this year, with 2 more volunteers set to help the crew with logistics. Base camp is a unique science solution outreach platform pushing for urgent action on climate change for political and business leaders. It's been running at Davos for 4 years, with Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg staying at the base camp team for one night in 2019. Yeah, so, you know, it's the idea is it's designed to put pressure on global leaders to take immediate action over climate change emergency. It's a form of protest. Their actions could be interpreted as a collaborative protest. So, yeah, one quote here: "It's important for world leaders to take climate action and stop playing around with the lives of the people, because all lives matter." Absolutely. So, yeah, this is it is a bit hypocritical, but the thing is, I can kind of see both sides a little bit. So, if you are a world leader, you have an incredibly busy schedule, and you have got to be here and you've got to be there. And if you have to be somewhere far away from this place and be there the next day, you know, you're not going to get there by sailboat. It could take weeks. You're going to have to fly, and it's just the way it is. And air travel is not good for the environment, but it's necessary to get there. Once you're there, do you have to stay in first-class luxury? Maybe not. But if you're a person of importance, of political importance, you do need to be a place that can be secured, essentially, because you have all these world leaders and delegates and people of, you know, of renown in one place. That could make you a target. So you have to be in a place you can police and have security, and you know, if anything happens. And that's going to be far easier inside a building, a hotel, with doors and exits and things that can be monitored and cameras and all this kind of stuff, more so than things. So I can kind of be so I completely agree with what these young people are doing. It is, you know, it is necessary to bring. I mean, everyone is there to discuss the climate anyway, but kind of adding a little bit more pressure, going, look, you really need to put something in place now, because it's going to get to a point where we cannot reverse what we're doing. If you drag your feet for too long, it gets to a point where you, all right, we'll do something now. It's like too late. It'll get to a point where it's irreversible. You know, and climate's been a hot topic for years now. So, but yeah, I can kind of see why they're protesting, but I can kind of see why the delegates are doing what they do. I can see why they have to take private jets, because they have to get from place to place quickly, which you cannot do by sailing or by sled dog or by cycling. It has to be, you know, you have to travel that fast. You have to travel in a secure place. You have to stay in a secure place. Could they have a secure compound full of tents? Yeah, they could, I guess. But again, these people, when they leave the conference, when they leave the meeting, they're going to go back to the room. They're going to have things they have to deal with in their own countries. There's going to be phone calls to make. There's going to be emails to send. There's going to be laptop stuff to do. And so I kind of see it from both sides. I wish there was a third way, but there's not. There is no ecological way to kind of get around this globe quickly. There's no ecologically sound way, environmentally sound way. It has to be done by burning fossil fuels at the minute. You know, there is no green electric aircraft. So it's probably coming, but yeah, so I kind of see it at the minute. I do agree with what these young people are doing. It is, you know, they call it a collaborative protest. Like I say, they're not kicking off, they're not holding placards, they're just saying, we are here and this is why. And the news has gone to them. It's brilliant. I like this kind of thing. I don't like the things like Extinction Rebellion, where they literally just disrupt people's lives. And I know they've got an important message, but it's like you stopping thousands of people getting to work on a morning, or stopping ambulances getting through to hospitals because you're blocking roads and gluing yourself to each other. Number one, it creates more anger than anything. Number two, it doesn't bring a lot of support to your message. It brings a lot of focus on it, but I think it brings a lot of negative focus as well, because people are going, yeah, I agree with you, but I've also got bills to pay and a family to support, and you're stopping me getting to work. So this kind of protest I like. Everyone has the right to protest, absolutely. You know, I'm all for freedom of expression, freedom of speech. But I think this is a good way to do it. This is like, we are here, you will pay attention to us, but we're not going to, you know what I mean? So, yeah, anyway, let's move on. So, story number 3 is a Guardian, why six-packs are an oppressive status symbol for women. Yes. So, this is more of a think piece in the article as opposed to a story as such. But basically, it's just another pressure placed upon women, and how the brilliant Phoebe Waller-Bridge kind of subverted it, because she appeared at the SAG Awards, Screen Actors Guild Awards for those who don't know, with a dress by Armani Privé, and yes, and she had a very visible kind of six-pack, but she admitted it had been painted on by a makeup artist. And yes, the gist of the article is that people are going, look, it's just another thing that women are now, this is now another standard that women have to kind of aspire to. You know, you've got to be successful, you've got to be this, you've got to be that. And now on top of it all, you've got to have a six-pack and this kind of thing. Yes, so I don't know if it's at a point now, if you don't have it, you're a failure. I don't know if the media's kind of going that way, because all of this is media driven and social media driven. That's how we are judged now. We are held to account essentially by your Instagram profile, and the media's like, oh, look at this, you know, who got all the news from the SAG Awards last night, and it will be all the Oscar things. And every year, the kind of newspapers will have, they'll have, you know, stories on the red carpet, and they'll have a section every single year about who looked good and who didn't. And they'll have, look at what was he wearing, what was she wearing, it's a mess, it just doesn't suit her frame and all this stuff. And you're like, this could be the best night of that person's life. And the next day they read that, and it's like just people slagging them off because they didn't like their dress and stuff like that. And it's just, oh, is it really necessary? I know it's been going on for time immemorial, and it will continue to, but you're just like, please. And this is just another one where women now need to have the six-pack and be ripped and all this kind of stuff. So here's my thoughts. And as you know, I was previously a personal trainer. And shocking as it may be, a six-pack is not healthy. It's not a symbol of health and fitness. It's not. and here's why. Healthy body fat percentage for a man is 13 to 19%. Within that range, you're a healthy, you have a healthy level of body fat. The percentage at which a six-pack will show in a man is sort of 8 to 12%, because everyone's slightly different. So 8 to 12, when your six-pack will start to show. 13 to 19 is healthy. So to get the top end of the range where you might have a visible six-pack, you're already medically under fat. And for women, I think it's something like 18 to 25% body fat is healthy. And again, for them, a visible six-pack is below that. So it's not a healthy thing to be, particularly for a lot of people. Now, everyone's different. There is some outliers. There's some people who are very naturally lean, and for them, a visible, very visible six-pack is perfectly healthy for them. But for the majority of people, it's at that point you're medically under fat. You may feel great, but from a medical standpoint, you are under fat. Fat is incredibly important to the body. It does so many beneficial things, not just insulation, but all the nerves in your body have got something called a myelin sheath around. Myelin sheath is made of fat tissue, and if you break the fat down to a certain point, I believe the myelin sheath can start to break down, and then nerves, essentially like two wires, can short circuit and bad things can happen. Basically, don't be under fat. But now there's this pressure, you've got to do this and got to do that. Now, previously I did some physique shows back when I was 2015. So I'll have been sort of 37, 38. And I got reasonably lean. I got to about 9 or 10%. It was very visibly cut. One day I'll put a picture up. And I felt so weak. I felt incredibly weak and lethargic because your body fights back. Your body wants you healthy. You've got this nice neutral point called homeostasis where your body wants to be. And your endocrine system, so all your hormonal system, will release certain chemicals and hormones to kind of hold you there. It wants you in this nice neutral position where it can monitor you and keep you at your best. If you start to starve yourself down to a certain point, your body fights back, trying to drag you back to that point. So initially, because you've got to get very lean, you eat less, you move more, and all that kind of stuff. Which is, people have said that's really bad advice, but it's just mechanics. If you expend more energy than you ingest, you will lose weight. Obviously, there's safe ways to do it. Get proper advice. Don't just do some crazy diet. But yeah, so you eat less, but you're expending energy, so you're hungry. So your body sends a signal, sends you a hunger signal. I'm hungry, eat. If you're quite strong-willed, you can just override that. So it's like, right, we've sent a hunger signal, we're still not getting any more calories in, we're still losing weight, what can we do? Because your body's concerned with longevity, it's concerned with keeping you going, and it understands that below a certain level of fat, you're going to starve to death. The mind is, the system is not as up to date as the mind is. The system doesn't know that food is plentiful and you're purposely withholding it. It just thinks, we're starving, there must be no food around. So let's send a signal out. Find something to eat, and then you just think, no, I'm not going to do that. Some people will just ignore it, some people will smoke and have appetite suppressants and all that garbage. So then the body says, right, well, what can we do to preserve energy? We'll slow the metabolism. We'll make him not want to move as much, or her not want to move as much. We'll slow the metabolism down. So they're going to feel lethargic, because if they're lethargic and not moving as much, they cannot expend as many calories. And that will hopefully kind of balance the books because of this reduced calorie intake. So you start to feel naff, at which point you start taking stimulants and you have more energy drinks and caffeine and things like that, and things to try and pep you up, or I did at the time. So yeah, the basic what I'm getting at, it's not healthy for everybody. Healthy for a small percentage of people, but do not look at a six-pack as a measure of health, because it's not. And everyone's, oh no, you look at people who are ripped and you see the front of these men's magazines and women's magazines now, and you hear about celebrity pop stars who do 1,000 crunches a day and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, for most people, it's not a healthy place to be. That whole rubbish, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. Skinny feels miserable. It really does, because you've just got no energy, you're cold. You know, when you look at fat, and fat's an insulator, you really don't realise how much it is until you really drop weight. I was freezing all of the time because I just had no insulation on me. I looked like a skeleton in the face. I was all, because I lose weight from the top down. Everyone burns fat differently. It all comes off you in different ways. Essentially, what happens is your body it mobilizes fat from the place it's easiest to get to. So, place where they've got the strongest blood supply, which is why most people end up, when you lose weight, you still end up with a little your abdominal area is where fat comes off last, because you've got a poor blood supply. So it's easier for your body to mobilize fat from other areas of your body, and it will go there when essentially there's none left anywhere else. So I literally lose weight from the top down. So I can have, you can see striations in my chest, and I've still got a little pot belly. So my face recedes in, I get all skeletal, I look horrible, I look ill. And that's what I have to go through to get a very strong, visible six-pack. It's not healthy, and the fact that more women are being expected to kind of follow suit as some of the guys are and have this ripped, toned midriff it's not good. And it's just another thing. There's enough pressure on women already to look good, to be successful at work, to be, to have the career and have the family and make the decisions and look a certain way and have a certain size chest and have a certain size hips and dress a certain way, and now it's like, oh, put this on top of that pile as well. And if you don't do it, you're a failure. You're like, oh my God, please just leave people alone. Let people be individuals and look and feel how you want to look and feel. And if other people don't like it, forget about them. They don't matter. They don't matter. Anybody who doesn't like what you look like, tell them to turn their eyes away. It doesn't matter. If you feel good, you do you. And don't worry about what anybody else says. Anyway, let's move on. So, next story number 4. Oh my God. Teenage boy is impaled. This is a Mail Online. Impaled by a needlefish that jumped out of the water and stabbed him in the neck, piercing through the back of his skull. Remember when you were a kid and you used to have to worry about Jaws? It was like, oh, I watched Jaws as a kid and it's like, oh, I'm worried about sharks. No, just normal needlefish now. This is an Indonesian boy who required life-saving surgery after being impaled in the neck by a flying needlefish. Mohammed Idol was fishing with his parents in Bhutan off the waters of southeast Sulawesi province on Saturday when a needlefish jumped out of the water. The fish's long, slender snout sliced straight through the 16-year-old's neck and pierced the back of his skull. He was rushed to hospital treatment before undergoing risky surgery to remove the fish from his neck 2 days later. 2 days later. This guy had a fish in the back of his head for 2 days. How uncomfortable is that? Are you okay, Mohammed? Can I get you a sandwich from the vending machine? No, it's fine. I'll just, I'll be okay. So, yeah. I'm making jokes because he's fine. Just in case you're wondering, yes, he recovered. So, a 2-hour operation involved 3 surgeons and 2 anaesthetists on Monday. They removed the fish snout. One must be very careful because there are a large vessel in the neck. Professor Dr. Siafrike Arif told local news site Makassar Turkin. He's recovering in hospital. Mohammed is recovering in hospital. Relatively stable at present, but he's still feverish, and they hope the fever will subside and he will get better. So they kept him in hospital to monitor for an infection. Needlefish are distinguished by their long, slender jaw, which bears multiple sharp teeth capable of inflicting deep wounds. They are also adept jumpers renowned for leaping out of the water at 60 kilometers an hour. So this thing is essentially a living dart, and it can leave the water at 60 kilometers an hour. Per hour. There's been 2 fatal needlefish attacks around the world, while several others have been seriously injured. A 10-year-old Hawaiian boy died while fishing at night with his father in 1977 after he was attacked by a needlefish which pierced his eye and his brain. Italian Navy cadet Kriansak Penpanish, 22, died in December 2018 when a needlefish speared through his neck during a training exercise. So, yeah, I mean, this kid was so lucky. I mean, if you saw the picture, there's other pictures in the article of this thing. So it's gone through the back, essentially through the side of his neck here, and came up through the back, at the base of his skull. And this is a fish. It's just a fish with a really pointed thing, which is why it's got a needlefish. And yeah, it doesn't say if it's if it's a form of attack or if they're startled when you try and fish for them and they just naturally kind of leap about like salmon do. But this thing leapt out, went through the back of his neck and the base of his skull. He was incredibly lucky. They've now removed it. He's recovering in hospital. You know, we wish him a speedy recovery. But damn, I mean, you know, I mean, yeah. Would you fish if the fish are now fighting back? What chance do we have? This is why are the vegans not picked up on this? Going, see, you know, nature's fighting back. He doesn't want to get. He doesn't want to get caught. But yeah, I mean, just a really one of them weird kind of stories. You tell somebody if you tell somebody in the pub tonight, say, you know, there's a story on the news where a young boy was stabbed in the neck with a fish. They'd be like, nah. It's like, yeah. Anyway, thankfully he will make a recovery. Maybe they need to find another food source, because if these things are, it's seriously injuring people, or a new method. We're off fishing tonight, lads. Get your crash helmets on. It's just mental, isn't it? But yeah, there we go. So let's move on. Story number 5. A bit of fun to finish off with. So this is in the Mirror today. Bargain £19 engagement ring. These women joking they would rather be single. So yes, an online debate over the suitability of an engagement ring has divided opinion because it costs just £19. It's made of sterling silver with a cubic zirconia to give it a diamond style look, and the item is for sale at jeweller Warren James for £19. So a woman called Faye Goddard from Bexley, South East London, shared a photo in a Facebook group called Extreme Couponing and Bargains, and it sparked a discussion. She said she thought the ring was ideal for anyone who wants to propose to their partner, but are limited what they can spend. 4,000 people reacted to the post, and it attracted 2,000 comments, and people were split on whether or not it was suitable as an engagement ring. One person said to me, oh my god, if I was proposed to with that, they would be single, let alone married. Another said I would say no if my partner gave me that. But, excuse me, a lot of people disagreed and said it's not the price of the ring, it's the commitment it symbolises. One even said, I prefer a cheap ring because I'm clumsy. I'm like to lose or break the ring I get bought. I'd be heartbroken if the ring cost a lot of money. The sentiment is being hard enough to lose. Another called the critics spoiled princesses. And the third said, so many materialistic people, the question is, would you even know the price tag shouldn't matter? So that's a good point, actually. If you didn't know, I mean, that ring is sterling silver and a cubic zirconia, so they are very diamond looking. You know, and if the presentation's there, and in all fairness, I am not married, nor do I ever intend to be. But if, as a woman, if somebody got down on their knee and they had a really nice box and they picked a location and you love this person and they opened it and they slid this ring on your finger, at that point, what kind of person are you, if you like? Well, my answer depends on how much this cost. That just sounds so shallow and horrific. And, you know what I mean? Again, it's like, there's many uses for this. It could just be that, you know what, it is the sentiment and the ring's not that important. It's just a symbol and it doesn't matter. It could be, you know what, this is a temporary one. You know, maybe you go away for a weekend and you think this is the perfect location to propose. However, you know, the ring I want, I can't afford it yet. I can't afford it this month. You know, I've found a perfect ring for him. And, you know, I can't afford it this month, but the proposal would be best served at this particular place. So I get this one as a symbol and I will propose, put the ring on, round of applause, hugs and kisses, and say, look, the ring's not the ring I want to get for you, but I thought this was a perfect spot. So just for now, and then a couple of months we're going to choose it together because, you know, you're worth it. If you want to spend the money and you think that person's worth it and you think they'd like it, by all means. So I think there's absolutely a place for this. But I think anybody who looks at it and just goes, no, it's not, it's cheap. I just think that's not a person worth marrying. I'm sorry. If somebody's going to judge you, if you're at a point where you're going to make that level of commitment to somebody and they just go, nah, it's cheap, you're cheap, off you go. Whoa. So, yeah. Anyway, kind of says a lot about me, doesn't it? And a lot about what I think about people who are materialistic. So, Anyway, so that's it, guys. Links to all the stories I've discussed today can be found in the description below, so feel free to go check them out. Let me know what you think about this video and tell me, how would you react to getting that ring, or would you ever give that ring? You know, is your current partner or partner in future going, yeah, I completely believe in him or her that they would absolutely love this ring because they love me and they wouldn't be bothered? Or if you received it, would you be like, you know what, I absolutely love the guy, absolutely love the girl, and the ring doesn't matter. The ring's a symbol of the commitment, and the commitment's what's important. Answers in the comments, please, along with your thoughts you'd like to share. These were mine. They're not necessarily important. They're not necessarily right or wrong. They're just what was on my mind. So until next time, bye for now.